NHL.com, your exclusive all-access pass inside the Stanley Cup playoffs.
How fitting, these two cities, no seats left to sell, would be competing this late in the playoffs yet again. Members of the National Hockey League for 83 years. Detroit, Chicago, Gillette Fusion, and NBC Sports present Game 4, Best of 7. To the ice, Pierre and Chicago captain Jonathan Toews.
How much anger is in your room right now because of the hit that was delivered by Nicholas Swanball and Martin Havlat?
Well, you can debate about hits like that all day, but we're more focused about our game right now and not about revenge. So we want to go out there and win this one.
You had a 3-0 lead in game number 3. You lost that lead. You eventually win in overtime. What'd you learn from losing that lead?
We've gotten up in every game to start, so obviously we want to protect leads like that a little bit better. But, we found a way to win like that, so we know they're going to come back hard when things like that happen, so we just got to be ready for it.
What was the message in the dressing room just before you came out, Jonathan?
It's another do-or-die game for us, so, we got to play that way.
Go out and do your face-off right now with Bobby Probert. Have fun.
Please welcome at all times Chicago Blackhawks legend.
It's a familiar uniform number in both cities. The number is 24. The name is Probert. He will drop the puck between the two teams that he had a combined 16 years with, 9 with Detroit, 7 with Chicago. 3,300 minutes of penalties, but some points in there too. Let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise, kindly remove all hats, and join organist Frank Pellico and soloist Jim Cornelison for the singing of our national anthem.
Tradition for many years here. This afternoon you're going to see a lot of people sitting in the stands who feel safe and confident and proud, and much credit goes to those who are serving in our armed forces or who have served. Cristobal Ue's last playoff start, April 22nd, 2008 for the Washington Capitals. Perfect in his one period and fraction of an overtime. And for Chris Osgood, it's just keeping on. Best goals against average, best save percentage of anybody left in these playoffs right now. And Martin Havlat is in the lineup. We should mention Chris Draper is another scratch. An injury scratch for Detroit. Lidstrom, Datsuk, and Draper, but no change in the Chicago lineup.
Some question marks whether or not that Nikolai Hobby-Bulin or Marty Havlat would be in the lineup this afternoon, Doc, for this important Game 4. Hobby-Bulin out, Havlat in. starting with the same line mates.
We have a clock issue here on the scoreboard that has to be rectified. A couple of blocks east of here at Old Chicago Stadium, they had the old scoreboard with hands that moved, just like an old sweep hand clock that you might have left over from 2 generations ago. They never had a lot of trouble with that other than people reading it, knowing how much time was left on their penalties. This one seems to have been solved now, and Jonathan Toews, just 21 years of age, does not start with his line, but will. And it was interesting, in the warm-up, we noticed that he and Patrick Kane and Dustin Byfuglien were playing together.
A lot of line juggling going on, not only in this round, Doc, against the Detroit Red Wings, but throughout the playoffs. Joe Quenneville is not afraid to changing it up if they've gotten behind in some games, but they've had good starts in the first 3 games of this series.
Yuri Hudler, Henrik Zetterberg, Johan Franzen start for Detroit with Brad Stewart and Nicholas Kronwall on defense. Andrew Ladd, Martin Havlat, Dave Bolin. Kronwall and Havlat out against one another at the very beginning of the game. Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith, the defense for Chicago. And tossed back in. Now Detroit has not had bad starts. As a matter of fact, they fell until the double minor in the first period of game number 3 as the lights are flashing behind Chris Osgood right now, and I'm not sure for what reason other than maybe the malfunction. But Detroit actually had a good start going last game until they took the double minor penalty, and then Chicago started to take it away. Brought on by Brian Rafalski, dropped one to Zetterberg, fires, and that's handed away by UA. Carried back on by Chris Versteeg, leads all rookies in assists and points in these playoffs. It is knifed right back away, can be followed up by Rafalski. Normally, Nick Lidstrom's defense partner. But it is Jonathan Ericsson with Rafalski here. Shot by Filppula is blocked wide. Thomas Holmstrom later along to Filppula. Tries to start a march towards the net, went around behind and angled it back to Rafalski. Tulola to hit off of Hossa, and Hossa is knocked off by Campbell. Hossa shouldered there. Sammy Olsen stepped into him and came up with a puck. Laid on back and kept alive right at the blue line by Ericsson. And now it's Brian Campbell. Laying it across for the carry-on by Paulson. And Chicago Energy has to show itself in the first minute and a half, but that's because Detroit's had it most of the time.
The one thing that they've done and really become pretty apparent, the pattern in this series, Doc. Anytime the puck has been down low here, Chicago's wingers really come down low to try to help out their defense. It leaves and it opens up the defenseman back for the Red Wings at that blue line. So something to keep an eye on. Low coverage by Chicago. The forwards for Detroit using their defensemen in the offensive zone.
Samuelson taps it on back. A little over 2 minutes have been played. Brought on by Michael Samuelson. Twisted on to Cleary, but offside is called. Team leader, presented by the United States Marine Corps, and Dan Cleary with 4 goals in the series, 7 in the postseason from Newfoundland. Great beard. For Chicago, Patrick Sharp, 2 goals, including that winner in overtime in Game 3 from Thunder Bay. Pretty good beard, too. You get this deep in the playoffs, I guess you should have one.
Well, Patrick Sharp, that overtime winner the other night. What a great pass there by Sammy Paulson with Dustin Byfuglien standing in front of the net. Nicholas Lidstrom out of the lineup today. He'd broken his stick. Filppula gave him his stick, and that allowed Matt Walker to walk in, get the shot on goal. The rebound being played by Paulson to Sharp.
Pitch back in by Justin Escalante. And we get a halt to play on an offside. Blackberry takes you inside the glass. Here is Pierre.
Well, lots of lineup changes that you and Eddie were talking about, Doc. Number one, what are they going to do against Kane, Toews, and Byfuglien? Well, we're getting an early read right now that it's going to be Nicholas Kronwall and it's also going to be Brad Stewart. Then you watch for Darren Helm and a little bit of quickness up front. So Mike Babcock probably knows he's going to have an easier time changing 2 guys rather than changing 5. So watch for Kronwall and Stewart to be the guys against Kane, Toews, and Byfuglien.
Yeah, right now they're on the ice, Pierre, Stewart and Kronwall. If you're Chicago, you recognize this, make them play defense, make them have an extended shift so that you don't get that matchup.
Andrew Ladd had it knifed away. Franzen protected pretty well with his body there, then threw it on to Brad Stewart. A little soccer move by Zetterberg, but it's turned back over to Dave Bolin. Nolan starts the motor ahead and just flop one to the corner. Stewart goes back for that. The Crash brothers are out there. Stewart and Cronwall. Carried back ahead and laid across by Thompson. Worked on further for his shot. It's deflected up into the mesh and out of play.
You know, Eddie, I know you had a chance to watch Cristobal Huet play a lot this season. I had a chance to watch him play a lot when he was playing for Montreal. The one thing about him is if you shoot the puck low, he's going to gobble it up. But if you shoot the puck high, that's where you're going to beat him more times than not. And you got to think Detroit is aware of that. And they're going to be shooting a lot of pucks high on Huet.
On that glove side, and that's that slight hesitation. You're the shooter. Hold, let the goaltender go down and think about elevation.
Kick back in by Versteeg. Good shoulder into him by Rapolsky. Versteeg able to turn. And beat it on back for a shot by Parker. That's turned aside by Osgood and swatted back out again by Thomas Holmstrom. Chart turns it along. Play back across the Chandler. And with a good shot. They like to set him up on the power play a lot. He just dropped down and back in, and it's taken by Erickson. Thrown up a bit by Sharp. Gathered in by Daniel Cleary. Cleary with 5 goals in 4 games. One was awarded to him after the last game. A drive by Rapolsky that he apparently had deflected. It was a drive by Rapolsky this time too. Expand your hockey experience on NBCSports.com and NHL.com. Through that ISOCam, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane can be seen. It's available right now at NBCSports.com and NHL.com. When they're not on the ice, the 24 stars on both teams to pick from. So you'll have an active afternoon if you're doing that. It is Kane bringing it on for Toews. They're a little over anxious, and so offside is called.
And Eddie, here's that matchup that we alluded to before. You got the big line for Chicago on the ice with Buffalo, Toews, and Kane. With Mike Babcock, he's going to want to get the speed as Edinburgh out against that. Joel Quenneville won't play into it, so he's going to change right away with Bolin and Ladd and Havlat. So interesting, the chess match is on early.
And I thought, Pierre, when you brought that up the first time, it seems like there's a problem again with the clock right now. The referee over in front of the scorekeeper. As I think, Pierre, going back to what you're talking about the matchup, that line, Stewart and Cromwell were on the ice for about 40 seconds there. This line, Bolin, Havlat, Ladd did a good job of keeping them on the ice. And then Joe Quenneville didn't come back with the Kane and Toews. He came back with the Paulson line, and that gave Stewart Cromwell an opportunity to rest for that last shift.
Yeah, so the chess match is really on. No question.
Lay down in front of Pierre, down at the right side as a shot by Havlat went wide. Came along for Seabrook, drubbed along further, and it's behind for Andrew Ladd. Light is gently there with Havlat. Came back on for Hoodler to swing across, and the Red Wings can start again. Cromwell, any play he makes is accompanied by booing here as we get a stoppage of play, and now a tangle across the way involving Havlat.
And Johan Franzen. Interesting dance mates.
Well, in game 3, Nicholas Cromwell steps up and hits Martin Havlat. I don't think there's any doubt. He was out for a split second. Now, in order for Marty Havlat to be able, if he did have a concussion, there's a protocol between the National Hockey League and the National Hockey League's Players Association. If it was diagnosed a concussion, there's a mandate. First off, he has to be symptom-free, first and foremost. Next, he gets to perform an exercise, get the heart rate up, whether it's a bike or a treadmill. After that, he has to be symptom-free. Then he takes a neuropsych test, a computer test, a written test that lasts probably about 40 minutes, memory, reaction time, and they have a base that he did at the start of the season to know when he was feeling fine during training. If after all that, then he gets clearance to play. So with Marty Havlat in the lineup, he went through all of those provisions, and he got clearance to be able to be in this game if he indeed had a concussion. It looked like to me anyways. I thought it was actually a good, hard, violent hit. But to me, it looked like he was out for a split second.
It'll be discussed in the intermission as well. This is taken along by Erickson and spun back in.
He rode the bike for 20 minutes, and he was fine after riding the bike for 20 minutes. And give Chicago some credit, very proactive in this whole situation. They had a neurological expert come in to make sure that Martin Havlat was okay. And Eddie, I love what you said in terms of the injury protocol and how it has to balance out. And it clearly is balanced out, and it's been the right thing done by Martin Havlat and also by the Chicago Blackhawks.
And the training staff, Mike Gapsky and all the team doctors and Joe Quenneville being involved. And of course, at the end of the day, it's the athlete. It's the athlete that has to be able to say, you know what, I'm fine. I'm being truthful. I'm being honest. And symptoms are a lot different for everybody. I remember when I had a few concussions, it was almost I had that slow drip in my ear. It was just kind of a real slow moving sound, like a water sound. And everybody's symptoms are different.
I think you get sick. Ill.
Here is Maltby, firing, save made by Louis. Given on back by Lefty to Chelios across the Maltby again. Sends up left up, drive, and that one blocked in front. Maltby tries to get to it again, but Bufflin is able to come by. Moving back up with Ben Eager, cranks a shot that's geared away to the glass by Chris Osgood. Off of Chelios, laid back out again by Maltby.
Couple nice plays there by the defense. The Chicago natives playing together. Brett Lepton, Chris Chelios. Beautiful couple plays across that blue line. With Kirk Maltby getting that first opportunity, then Lepton the second.
You had mentioned that the player will tell the coach, I'm fine.
Right.
That's all they did at one time. And then the coach would say, okay, you're fine, go in.
Well, they look at you and they put their hand right in front of your face and say, how many fingers? And if you would look and make sure, whatever number you gave, they say, okay, you're okay, get out there. But now the National Hockey League, I mean, really in sports in general, you have to. There's much more in depth now. There's a lot more testing. We talked about the baseline at the start of the season when there's no issues. There's something to go back. I mean, it's great, but certainly things have changed over the years, that's for sure.
Forced on back and away from the reach of Henrik Zetterberg and followed up now further by Franzen. Gave it back to Zetterberg. Stood up, good strong work by Seabrook, and so it's outletted on to Duncan Keith. Franzen moves on him, given across the half. Backhand one that went off the ankle of Cromwell and Duncan Keith, and meanwhile it's controlled by the Redmonds back out.
And if you're Chicago, wouldn't you want to see them winning more one-on-one battles now? Looks like they're not nearly as engaged.
At the outside of the net, that backhand attempt.
More challenging, you know, against playing with Detroit. You need to.
As Havlat trying to get there first. Has to pivot, looks for him. Cannot get it past there. He's buried by Eriksson, but it is laid across by Poland. Walker with a shot that's deflected away by Zetterberg. Big Dustin Bufflin, all 250 some odd pounds of him. Laid it along now to try to get a cycle going. Cam Barker knifed it back in. Up for grabs and Osgood. Same place. Cage wants to work back to the point, but couldn't do that. What a battle.
This is more like it for Chicago than this week.
Bufflin shot, ricocheted off Taves. Zetterberg able to turn. Bufflin after him, trying to cross him off. There'll be a penalty coming up, and it's going to be on Detroit. Here's Kane on one and caught, and that one went high and wide. Touched by Samuelson. Power play for Chicago. Owners of the best power play in the playoffs so far. Time now for the Miller Lite Taste of Greatness. And it involves the Stanley Cup. 4 times in 11 seasons. Steve Yzerman, Nick Lidstrom have been involved in championships in Detroit, but there was one won in Detroit in 1961 at Old Olympia Stadium, corner of Grand River and McCraw by Chicago.
And there's the penalty on Henrik Zetterberg, and I actually thought that Bufflin could have got a penalty as well for getting that stick in the midsection. Clearly saw Zetterberg grab it.
Drive, that time by Campbell that hit the glass, and then another bad angle try is handled by Osgood, but a face-off win right at the start.
Amazing power play for Chicago this playoff season. Their first in the league, they scored 18 power play goals on 61 chances. But a lot of it comes down to their face-off wins, Edzo.
See, we have a glass issue in behind Chris Osgood. Maintenance crew here at the United Center will quickly take out those partitions and grab a new piece of glass in behind Chris Osgood.
Brian Campbell let that shot go that got the glass. And so that will be put on, deducted from his playoff share. Quite a blast.
Going to go right back off the faceoff. And the faceoff win. It's not always the centerman waiting that puck clean. The puck is going to be dropped, and Jonathan Taves gets a piece of it. But watch the left party street. Stop it here. Look at Marty Havlat. He helps. He's able to help his centerman, and then he's able to get that puck back to Brian Campbell. Now Chicago is into their offensive set. If Havlat has no regard for where that puck goes, if he just goes to the front of the net, Detroit gets it, sends it down 200 feet. And off the glass, comes right back, and the shot by Havlat, goes right between the legs, and then in behind. Osgood think he has it.
The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs presented by Gillette Fusion. They don't count half. Nothing. Glass repaired here at United Center, and so the offensive zone face-off for the Blackhawks on this power play that has only 8 seconds gone off the clock on the minor to Zetterberg will get going. Already 3:32 of ice time for Marty Havlat. Leading point getter for the Blackhawks in the regular season and into the playoffs. This round drive, it came right back and can be set down by Parker yet again. And another drive back off the pipe. Thrown back along by Campbell. No stick for Hell.
Sorry, Doc. No stick for Darren Hell.
It's broken. It's been scooped away. The linesman tends to it. Led back across now. Virtually a 5-on-3. Shot blocked away by Osgood off a paved stick, and Cronwall can clear it back down.
Outstanding work there by Nicholas Cronwall. He won a battle on Jonathan Taves. He cleared the puck down with Helm without a stick. Surprised Chicago didn't try to pick on Darren Helm without his stick.
It was Cam Barker's shot that broke Darren Helm's stick.
Campbell tries to work it along, and the bouncer's knifed on, and now it might be a 2-on-1. Hossa moving up, gets it back on the wing, fumble it out, give it to Hossa. A shorthanded goal. Marian Hossa has connected for Detroit. His first goal of the series, his 5th of the playoffs.
That's just great job by Detroit down low in their own zone. That's why it creates a 2-on-1 Ed zone, and then Hossa capitalizing.
Well, here's what happens. Here's Patrick Sharp. This puck is going to work its way there. It goes right by Sharp, and the man behind him is Marian Hossa. Chicago has it. It takes a funny bounce, and it goes by Sharp now, 2-on-1. Hossa to Filppula, and the one thing that Hossa did, give and go. Move the puck, move yourself, and he beats Cristobal Huet. What a pass there by Filppula.
And Hossa wasn't even messing around trying to go low. He was going up high the whole time. I think QA got a piece of it, Edzo.
He didn't get it very high. Boy, oh boy, that's a great look. I mean, it just kind of seemed like it maybe even got 18 inches off the ice. I think QA was maybe expecting to hear one of those high shots.
Kane fed it over to Buckland. Another stick is loose out there. It's scooped on back to Bronson. That's a legal one. He's regained it. Here's Kane dropping it back off. Poland gives it back to Seabrook. Little pass across. Pulling in at first deep, but he's chased down by Cronwall. And then Zero with a shot that is turned aside. Played around behind for Kane. Rocked a little bit by Cronwall. It's touched on back to Seabrook again. Gave it on across with a hold by Bolin, and he's challenged enough that he crossed it up. It's brought back on by Bronson, and the defensive gem was turned in by Brad Stewart.
Stick position, body position, Stewart and Franzen, they just enveloped.
Detroit
There was no outlet for him.
Out of the box is Zetterberg. Detroit killed it off and scored a goal in that time. Nearing the halfway point of the first period, and Murray sets it up, and trouble came there for Keane, and then he's bumped by Helm. Helm is not the biggest Red Wing, but he leads the team in hits in this series. That's his 14th.
People alone to be a hit leader.
Ronnie Red Wings thinks he's the fastest skater in the league. He and Mason Raymond of the Vancouver Canucks.
In the league.
Yes. Chris Draper is a pretty quick player. We're saying that the other day.
Mentioned Chris Draper is out of the lineup today for Detroit, the leading face-off man in this entire series, and always one of the leaders in the NHL. And when you consider defensive zone face-offs, such as they had on this last power play, that's a loss.
And so I still think it's a tentative start for the Chicago Blackhawks, and Hossa's goal hasn't helped. You can see they're fighting the puck right now. They're not winning as many races. We got to get comfortable with the big boys here. Kane going too.
Kane with a shot struck high by Chris Osgood, who was shot a bit by Buckland, and his stick in particular. Buckland caps around behind there, and Kane moving in, trying to rescue. Two aside, and the stalemate now at occurs. The play halted midway in the first period of our game from United Center in Chicago, led by the visitors 1-0.
Joel, the shorthanded goal, what do you do to get your guys back being comfortable?
Well, we're being all right. I think we're doing good up to that point there. You know, shorthanders can kill you here, but I think we just got to recapture some momentum here to the end. Don't change the way we're playing here and just try to chip ourselves back in the game.
Looks like you and Mike Babcock are having a chess match. Is that something you're going to continue, or do you just want to get the flow going for your players?
Well, we're doing all right. I mean, we had the power play and you give up a shorty, you know, but I still think we'll watch the matchup as long as we go. Zetterberg, you got to be worried about him when he's out there.
Thanks, Joel.
All right.
Punched along by Zetterberg, could not keep though. Thrown back by Versteeg. Rafalski in and shouldered by Sharp. Pulled loose by Rafalski, but deflected up high by Versteeg again. Bronson could not clear out. Good aggressive work by the Blackhawks here. Eventually it's Zetterberg though, looking ahead for Yuri Hudler, and Hudler just holds and filters a pass across that Zetterberg can carry in. Holds and shoots, and that carefully trapped by UA. The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs on NBC are brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Stay on top of the high-speed action with highlight clips, scores, stats, and more with BCast, only from Verizon Wireless.
And it has some penalties here after that save by Cristobal Ue on the shot off of Henrik Zetterberg, Johan Franzen, and Brent Seabrook. Both in a box for roughing. 4-on-4 hockey.
Franson had a flyby through the crease on UA, and you'll see it gets carried over later on into this. So Paulson on Zetterberg, his countrymen, and then everybody gets in a gathering of the clans. But it all started on a flyby by Franson right into UA.
What do you mean by a flyby, Pierre?
You get to the crease and you make sure the goalie knows you're there.
Taken by the Blackhawks off this face-off, but lost at center. So it is Brad Stewart with him. Hossa from Filppula, the shorthanded goal. Filppula with 5 assists in 5 games, and here he comes again. One in each of the last 5, including 4 in this series.
And so didn't you think on that 2-on-1, the smart play was made by Hossa, moving the puck quickly to Filppula to stretch out the Calder's defense?
Give and go. Filppula had a little bit of a jump on him as well. Moved that puck to the guy ahead of you and then catch up.
Here's Hamlet cruising with it. Martin Hamlet laid it back in. The stick is knocked up out of the hands of Cromwell. Good cut off there, and it is started back out again by Hossa and then lost.
The Detroit bench was irate. Bolin smashed Cromwell's stick out of his hand.
Looks like a boomerang flying right from Chris Osgood's in front of the net to the right corner.
Heath dropped it back and Kane brought it ahead. Wrapped up a little bit by Samuelson there. And so the Blackhawk contingent doesn't like this. Meanwhile, it is taken along by Samuelson. Taves on the forecheck there with 7:30 to go. It's given away to Cam Barker. Pressed away, just knifed away from Taves at the last moment. So Samuelson can play it ahead to Henrik Zetterberg again. Zetterberg just gaining the zone and then fanning it out with a pass over to Rafalski, and a shot is waffle-boarded away by Due.
Looking for maybe a redirect from Michael Samuelson, who was standing to the right of Cristobal Ue.
Pretty good 4-on-4 composure by Detroit right there, especially Samuelson and Zetterberg.
There was no scoring in the third period of Game 3. Does any of this look like that to you?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Kane passing the puck. Backside there.
Kane's trying to get off. Patrick Sharp's here to take his place. Kane just can't get off the right. Stops out.
Versteeg and wide of the Kane. Walker and blocked by Osgood.
Very similar, Doc, to that third period the other night. 2 goals in the first period by Chicago, 3 of those in the second by Detroit, and almost just kind of an in-between, not much going on, a lot of neutral zone play in that third period of Game 3. Very similar here in Game 4.
Campbell rattled that one back in, and Patrick Sharp dumped it behind. Versteeg protects it there. And Sharp around in front, and he's blocked by Hossa. And a penalty coming up. It's going to be on Sammy Paulson.
He came up high in Filppula. Kevin Pollock, the official's right there, Doc, to make that call.
On the middle of your screen, the right part there, Sammy Paulson, boy. Puck wasn't anywhere near there. Watch Paulson. Let's take a peek, and that's a shoulder right on the jaw of Filppula. And that's interference.
That's a whole lot of things.
Well, they call it a roughing.
Well, that's a whole lot of things. And Sammy Paulson won a Stanley Cup with Anaheim. He was such an important member of that team, playing with Rodney Niedermeyer and Travis Mullen. That line was so effective, especially in the deciding game against the Ottawa Senators.
Bud Light power play about to begin for the Red Wings, who are 2 for 10 in this series on the power play. It is Kronwall just walking it along. Has Hoodler drifting inside the four-man box. Zetterberg gives it back to Kronwall.
Blackhawk penalty goal number 26, Paulson.
Oh, and a save shot or pass by Sanderson is carried right back to him. And it is Burris's shot that has been reflected off the corner glass and into the mesh, and so play is halted. I beg your pardon, Versteeg.
Nice play there by Nicholas Kronwall on the recovery. It looked like Chicago had something going, a 2-on-1, Doc. But then Samuelson, after the turnover, he didn't pout, he didn't put his head down, he came back. It's never too late on a back check, and then it turned into a 1-on-2. And once Samuelson worked hard to get back, Kronwall recognized that, moved all the way over, and got that stick in the lane of Chris Versteeg, and the shot hit the netting in behind Chris Osgood.
Let's remember now, a lot of pressure on Kronwall. He's basically replacing Nicholas Lidstrom, who's such a great manager of the puck, and he makes such good decisions with the puck.
Hoodler dropped it off. Given back across to Kronwall again. Kronzen drifts near the front as the pass comes to Zetterberg. And then a drive by Kronwall is grabbed high and held by UA.
And Enzo, you know that's a tough position for Nicholas Kronwall to be in, because he's usually not the go-to guy in the power play. It's Nick Lidstrom. But Kronwall makes a good decision here by just shooting the puck high through traffic and trying to fool Cristobal UA.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're using him as the quarterback, the guy right in the middle, playing a little catch here with Zetterberg. Here's an opportunity, and at the last second, probably a little bit too high there. Franzen had to bail out there because that was about head high. But a good idea. Anytime you get a lane, just get the puck to the net. So if you're Chicago, you got Zetterberg and Rafalski on either side. Almost seems, we'll let Kronwall be the shooter or be the guy in the middle of the ice, and you can't guard everybody. So sometimes you have to take what is given, and Kronwall certainly did that on the last opportunity.
Osa helped it back to Kronwall, then got it back for a shot that is blocked off by UA and is able to cover. Pretty strong defense played there in front by Keith and by Seabrook.
Very strong defense, but that's where UA is so strong, when those pucks are along the ice into his pads. And Enzo, this is where the big trees have to go and swing. And you see Thomas Holmstrom swinging with the big trees down low, but with UA, his strength is down low, not up high, and he really played to his strength there.
And another giveaway, so that has to be snagged by Osgood. It's carried on now by Hosa, tries to pull his way through, yanks a little pass over that is just angled on back by Filppula. Kronwall walks ahead. That's Samuelson set up. Now Kronwall, the shot deflected, scrambling front, making away, and it was Holmstrom, but able to freeze the puck was UA.
If you're going to go to the front of the net, you have to be willing to pay a price. And that shot came from the middle of the ice again by Nicholas Kronwall. Tomas Holmstrom in front. I think it's a little push there by Brent Seabrook. You go to the front of the net, you're going to draw attention. The shot's going to come. Look at Filppula in front, Holmstrom in front. This was the adjustment the other night in the second period that Detroit made. Mike Babcock started overloading, putting two people in front of the net, making sure they work the puck to the outside, get the puck to the net from the middle of the ice, and were rewarded on a couple of opportunities. But a good simple play there by Detroit, and a physical play by the defense.
Nice stop by Brad Stewart to keep play going. Hands over to Samuelson. Swept right back in for Zetterberg to turn. On to Hoodler. Laid on back again for Stewart. Lets it go. Deflected. Stopped it by He got that one too.
Chicago playing a dangerous game on a penalty kill, Enzo. Far too passive. They've got to start challenging. Too many point shots get through by Detroit. That's going to be a recipe for disaster for Chicago if they're not careful.
Well, I guess they're saying, you know what, we don't want Zetterberg and Franzen and players of that ilk down low making those types of plays, but what a stop off the redirect from Zetterberg, who was in the corner, moved out to the middle of the ice, and a hard shot from the point by Brad Stewart. What a stop by Cristobal UA. Moving to his left and had to react quickly with his blocker to the right.
We've seen 3-point shots get through right now. One of them by Stewart, two of them by Cromwell. And again, that's something that you're not expecting because of how well Nicholas Lichton does it. Now they have to change it up just a little bit, but it's getting through.
Yeah, less respect, really. I mean, there's no disrespect to the Redskins or guys on the power play, but no, they're not respecting the guys that are back there. If they're back there on the blue line, you know what? You got to take it. We're giving us that ice. Go ahead and take it.
Rapolsky turning here as the penalty is over. Laid back ahead for a tip back up by Billy Leno, who had a strong game 3. They're in a losing cause. Lost by Campbell, swept along by Leno, still trying to get free and gets one that ricocheted off Cleary.
Oh, that puck's got to get in deep there. Campbell almost gave up a 3-on-1 the other way.
Pitch back in by Cleary, who bodied pretty heavily by Cam Bryce. And he came on to Cleary. Played it to the point, just arriving, and apparently not in time. Was Cronwall.
Talked about that Darren Helm speed, Edzo and Doc. There's a good example. He closes the gap quickly off the Dan Cleary shoot and forces a turnover. It's a great job by Helm in a one-on-one against Brian Campbell. Forces a turnover, then Cleary throws the puck back, which leads to the offside. But his closing speed is amazing.
Recognition. Simple play, just getting it in there and not trying to force anything that isn't there. And use that speed to pursue those pucks, put pressure on defense. Defense know certain guys are on the ice, regardless if they're physical guys or fast guys or skill guys. Most defensemen in the league recognize that, know how they have to play from shift to shift.
Hossa took his own pass, back at him on the save, rebound, popped up high off the defense, and carried back up by Walker. Impressive play by Hossa. Back now comes Paulson and lobs one off the glass that struck the back of the cage and is pushed right back there for Brett Left. Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Nice play.
Beautiful play.
I knew you'd say it. Anywhere in
29.5 miles from here.
I'm sure it's not 29 1/4.
Here's Holmstrom pretty much by himself as the Red Wings are changing. Applicator runs to help him out and does. Bet one that was deflected back out the center in the last 2:37. Period 1. Right in front of you.
Paulson and Holmstrom here, right in front of you.
Yeah, we got 6 flying everywhere. They're going to get matching minors, Kevin Pollock says.
And Bufflin was in the middle of a change when Holmstrom and Paulson were going off the ice right to your left, Pierre, and then they came together. But the battle in behind. Here, Applicator trying to get the puck to Kirk Maltby, who was coming off the bench, but at the end of a long shift, Holmstrom and Paulson, little bump in, come together. Watch the left part of your screen. There's Bufflin that comes in, and a little shot there by Holmstrom. And Pierre, see you in the background with the arms up, protecting the face.
I've been hit before in a playoff game. I don't want to bleed on national TV again.
We'll get you that surgical glue here in Chicago.
It works.
The chapstick form, too.
Nah. Well, we've got Bufflin sitting in the penalty box trying to register at least a little message for Thomas Holmstrom. We have roughing minors assessed to both of them in the last 2:20 of the first period. Zetterberg able to bring it off. Backhand one across the net. No shot ricocheted on the outside of the cage. Cleary was stood off by Bolin. Game 3 now to Keith. Reversed it along to Dave Bolin again. 22 years of age. Like a lot of these Blackhawks, half of the lineup is under 25. Bolin peels off and lays it on now to Hexler. Hexler is caught. Blocked down by the defensive Cronwall and taken back on by Zetterberg. They've got a 3-on-2 development. Zetterberg brought it on, has a man breaking for the net by Johnson. Preoccupied with the checking of Seabrook.
Nice defending there by Brent Seabrook. Looked like something was going on for Detroit, but the active stick, which he doesn't have anymore because he collided with Edward Zetterberg. The quick stick of Seabrook denied that 3-on-2 for Detroit.
Wilson's got a lot of jump in his game this afternoon.
That goal helped him out for a little bit of a burst.
Confidence. Pretty good mash on Keith just now, wasn't it? And then it's given right away to Taves. Back in the front middle forehand. Shot stop. Get another one. From Campbell.
Oh, Erickson stick broke. He played the puck. Very lucky to get penalized.
Racing back ahead and peeling off now is Vilkula. Vilkula in all the cages.
1 minute.
And the glass is standing in front of UA as Hossa. Given back up to left again. Fed back across, and here His shot deflected around in front, covered by the Blackhawks. Started back ahead by Taves near the end of the shift.
Boy, Filppula here, he's made some great passes. He made the pass on the goal to Hossa. He just made an outstanding pass to Hossa. Patience with the puck from Valtteri Filppula.
Laid across for the carry-on by Keith in the last half minute of the period. Chunked right over Versteeg, shouldered off by Helm. Both teams get a man back as walking on with it is Trond. His shot, he
The Red Wings got the memo. Shoot high. You've seen their defenseman shoot high, and you see Johan Franzen come down the wall. He just shoots it high long side. Edzo, this is the problem for UA. He commits down low all the time, and teams in the league are aware of it. And it's just, that's a stoppable puck. That is a terrible save opportunity for Cristobal UA.
Boy, speed to the outside by Johan Franzen, and being a left-handed shot, coming down the right wing boards. And right before this on the 4-on-4, the opportunity for Jonathan Taves. A good stop and then up and over. Chris Osgood gets a piece of it, but the one thing Johan Franzen did, watch what he does. He shoots this puck right between the legs of Brian Campbell. He uses him as a screen, skating right, shoots back to the left. I agree with you, Pierre. Not a good goal to give up by Cristobal UA, especially in the last 20 seconds.
Open stick for Walker. Now Detroit's off to the race again.
7 seconds to go. Sammy around behind. Headline and Franzen just had to go off the tip of his stick. Kane is run into at the horn by Cronwall.
Kane saw him just at the last second. Trust me, that hit the other night, Cronwall on Havlat. Players on the ice know when he is on the ice. You got to keep your head up when Cronwall's out there.
These guys are going to part. Think about it for about 17 minutes. 2-0 Red Wings. Mike Milbury, Pierre McGuire on Cronwall versus Havlat. Was it headhunting or a clean hit? First period highlights and analysis coming up. You're watching the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs on NBC. Presented by Gillette Fusion. Welcome back to the NHL Stanley Cup playoff presented by Gillette Fusion.
Oh, Joe Quenneville is absolutely irate with referee Kevin Pollock. Pollock was getting ready to drop the puck. Joe Quenneville's up on top of the bench, waving at the referee. And to your right, Pierre, Mark Jonette was over there talking to Mike Babcock. And then Quenneville got the attention of Pollock.
Mike's calm, cool, and collected. Joel is a little bit apoplectic right now.
You can tell which one's up 2-0. Well,
that's exactly right.
And a power play to start.
Matt Walker, a roughing minor out of the skirmish at the end of the period. So Detroit gets the opportunity that comes from that.
Brandville was saying, you called 3 straight penalties against us. That's not good enough. Balance it out.
Way got into some trouble, but help came from Keith, and it's blasted back out. Boy, Joel is still waving his fist down there at the bench. Here's Hudler laying one in front that is spiked wide by Keith and then driven along and back down.
He's got to let that go right now, Doc and Edzo. He's got to focus in. This is really becoming a chess match. Babcock doesn't have the same kind of roster he usually has. So he's got to manipulate his bench a lot. Now Quenneville's really got to bear down and concentrate.
Well, I think what he's doing here is working the official and letting him know maybe he's going to be able to get a call somewhere along the line. May not be in the next 2 minutes, maybe somewhere down the line. Making sure he gets his message across.
I understand that, but now his players need some composure because they've got to start playing well again.
Filppula drifting on a cross, laid it to Hossa, and his shot saved rebound. Score! The Red Wings with a power play goal make it 3-0. And the man who figured in the first goal of the game with an assist, Valtteri Filppula, has put the Red Wings up by 3.
And so it's just professionalism with the puck. You talked about Filppula being distributor all afternoon long, and you're right. There's a beautiful example.
Oh my goodness, what a pass. Skating one way, throwing a backhand pass over 2 sticks. One is Brian Campbell's, the other one is Sammy Paulson, and then he goes harder than that. Give and go. All you young hockey players out there, get to the front of the net. You want to score goals, you want to create offense. He moved the puck, he didn't watch his pass, and that was a beautiful pass by Valtteri Filppula, and beats Cristobal UA, gives up a rebound. But Hossa, here you made mention of it, Hossa almost looked like he was shot out of a cannon.
He's got it going on
That
today.
first goal he does, he went hard in the net. Quick little play. It was there. Just get the puck to the net. A big rebound, and Philpo puts it into the wide open net.
It's amazing how great players know when they have to elevate, and obviously because of the injury situation, Hossa knows he's got to elevate. And so far here in Game 4, he has.
Number 81, Dorian Hossa. He's going to go on the power play.
At 1:13, preceded by a goal at 19:39. A late and early and a 3-goal lead for Detroit. Just bent through Hitler and back down. 13 times in these playoffs, the Blackhawks have trailed by 1, 2, or 3 and have gotten the game back easy. Made a habit of it seemingly against Vancouver, just battled right back each time. But the competition gets stiffer each round. Ryan Rapolsky goes back and allows him to take it as Osgood.
Probably could sustain some forechecker offense. Lots for their defensemen to get involved.
Turned over by Detroit. Taves gave it back. Chalmerson a shot that is held by Osgood.
And a shot there from Chalmerson on point. We're going to go back to the goal. Now, the puck is going to work itself to this direction. But watch the play by Marian Hossa. Watch the subtle little pick. The puck's going to move. Now watch the little bit of interference right there. He does not allow Paulson to get the puck. Who gets it? But it's Filppula. And then watch this beautiful backhand pass. Oh, that is just beautiful. And the puck ends up in the back of net. But the play by Hossa and the penalty at the end of the period. The left. There's Matt Walker. He ended up getting to the penalty. He comes into the pile. I mean, when you look at that pile, you look what Walker did. Everybody's in there grabbing, reaching around. I mean, anything there that we can see, to me, I don't see a penalty at all. But the guy's reaching in. Now, did somebody take a shot in that pile? I don't know. But Matt Walker was the guy in the box. But that was a heck of a play by Hossa there on the pickup.
Tipped around behind by Clear. Right back in by Campbell in the follow-up from Toronto. Filppula's goal comes from Hossa, the lone assist at 1:13. Mentioned earlier, Chris Draper not able to play in this game today. Pavel Datsyuk the same. Nick Lidstrom the same. Draper injured, celebrating his 38th birthday. Other ex-Red Wing, Pat Verbeek, 45 today.
Good job he's done with the pro scouting with Glenn Murkowski and Martel. He plays pro scouting now. So that's a penalty. That's a penalty.
Sure enough, the chance that the Hawks wanted. Blackberry takes you inside the glass with Pierre.
So right now, the Chicago Blackhawks on this power play have to take advantage. You're not going to score 3 in a row against the Detroit Red Wings. They're not that kind of a team, so you have to chip away. I love what Eddie Olczyk talked about in terms of sustaining forecheck, getting your defense involved. But now on this power play, the #1 power play this playoff season, now it really has to cash.
Unlight power play for Chicago.
That's what you agree. This is a real pivotal moment in the game for Chicago.
They would love to be able, Chicago, obviously, to get a goal. But I think what they need more than anything else, if they don't, is chances and momentum. They need second chance opportunities. That's Stewart on that.
Oh my goodness, Pavlov's coming right off. That was a crushing hard shot.
Here is Sharp leading it back. Parker finesses it on McCain. Watch by Cleary, gives it the opposite side, played along by Campbell, then McCain again. Has Parker, tries to swing free. Good defense by Detroit there, so it's led to Parker for another shot. Save. Jonathan Taves, power play goal.
Well, Patrick Kane was looking for a seam. It wasn't there, and he got the puck back to the point. Cam Barker, and then the shot, the save by Osgood. And what hands and poise by the captain, Jonathan Taves. Front of the net, sweeps it and gets it in behind the Detroit goaltender for a power play goal. A huge goal, but a good hard shot there from Barker.
And it's a heavy shot from Barker. But the big news after the goal is the hit. Brad Stewart stepping up on Martin Havlat. And that made a big noise. And that got Martin Havlat out of the game.
Carried back on by Hossa. Filppula in front. Hossa right hand. He's
That's what this guy's going on today. You can see it in the warm-up and you can see it in the first period. And now he just made the Chicago Blackhawk defense look sick. It's just his speed. His nickname when he played junior hockey in Portland, Oregon was hello and goodbye. So he's going to get the puck and say hello to everybody in the neutral zone, and then he's going to say goodbye and stick it to the back of the net on Cristobal Huet.
Well, you have to think that Joel Quenneville's thinking about making a goaltending change.
He's coming.
You had momentum. And then Hossa gets body position on Chris Versteeg. And a 4-1 lead for the Red Wings, and Corey Crawford in the lineup because of Nikolai Hobbybullin being out. Cristobal Huet starting his first game since April the 11th, and they win in Detroit. A 4-2 win, and Huet has given up 4 already. The hook is there, and Corey Crawford coming in relief of Cristobal Huet.
And his teammates were extremely supportive of Corey Crawford. Duncan Key said to him, this is your opportunity, go in there and show them what you're all about.
Well, Marian Hossa does a great job of getting body position. Watch Chris Versteeg on the right part of your screen. He comes in there. If Chris Versteeg has to think about, look, that's too good of a scoring chance for Marian Hossa. I got to take him down. If I take a penalty, so what? That would be a good penalty. But he kind of just he was there, but he wasn't. And then once Hossa lowered that shoulder, and a quick shot by Michael Samuelson on Corey Crawford.
And the Bronx cheer here in Chicago. What would you call that in Chicago, Doc?
Well, I think they were cheering the kid to encouraging him because he made the save right away. I mean, you talk about a baptism in fire. This is it. Got the call during the game. Game 3 here Friday night. Get down here and get your equipment on. You're going to sit the bench.
He didn't even know you could do that, which you can do in the playoffs.
Here is Cleary dipping the shoulder and going around behind. Good shoulder put into him. Blackhawks played pretty well in front of UA in that third period. And they continue to play well in front of the new goaltender Crawford. Having given up that goal just 12 seconds after they had gotten this crowd electrified again for the first time since midway in the third period. Starting to get out of reach. Here's Keith with a shot that Brandon Ryan is getting all the way back out. Samuelson will get to that puck first and pivot.
That defense getting involved. You might be giving up 2-on-1s or 3-on-1s with your Chicago, but you got to find a way to sustain some offensive pressure. You need a save from your goaltender, Corey Crawford. Watch for the defense. We saw it right before the power play goal by Jonathan Toews. Hjalmarsson had a chance. Campbell jumped in the play. We just saw Duncan Keith jump in from that defense position.
Kane brought it on and handed it off now to Andrew Ladd. Deflected up high and will be corralled by Dave Bolton. Bolton walked to the front but couldn't get much of a shot away. Followed up by Walker and dropped behind. Stewart laid that one along, and it is thrown across by Hooker for the carry by Cromwell to pass to Zetterberg. Here they come. Bronson is loose on the wing. The pass went off the skates, and so it must be played back at center.
Nice play by Cam Harper there on that 2-on-1.
Back in comes Whitler again. Got loose and banked on the shot. Coming along to Zetterberg, but canceled out effectively by the check in the goalie. Turning it Bronson. There wasn't enough room to go. He's rather large, though. Trying to get pull his way through. Hasn't happened yet. Might back up the board for Patrick Sharp. One of the hot hands the Blackhawks have had here lately. This fired on the pass for Bufflin. It's laid back along to Filppula, who has been incredibly hot with his line mate Hossa. This delays and shoves it to him. Here's Hossa chipping one that was blocked off by Hjalmarsson. Laid on by Rafalski, and then just had to get out of the way of the hit that was coming from Sharp. Advance back ahead now for Jonathan Toews, who tried. Had it knocked away. Hjalmarsson a shot, and that one just shrugged away to the corner by Eriksson and laid back out again.
Nice shot out there. Looked like Chicago had something going 3-on-2. Kirk made a good play on the wall. Campbell jumped in. Nice shot of defending by Eriksson.
Filppula and Lepta got the assist on the goal by Hossa, his second of the game. Hossa didn't have a point in the series in the first 2 games. He didn't get a penalty Chicago, and now a little extra after the whistle.
They might be getting another penalty here, Doc. This might be a 5-on-3 coming up for the Red Wings. Christopher Street came in with a high stick in the corner.
We'll check it out. This is the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs presented by Gillette Fusion. As Eddie Olczyk spotted, a 5-on-3, 2 in the box for Chicago.
First penalty on Matt Walker. A delayed call coming up. Watch Christopher Steek. After a great defensive play by Matt Walker. The puck's going to go in. The whistle blows. Watch for Steek. He takes the stick and cross-checks Billy Lano. Bad penalty. Put your team down 2 men. There it is again. The opportunity, and a watch for Steek right there. Cross-check right in front of the referee. Bad penalty. 5-on-3 coming up for Detroit. And Detroit can really, really put this game out of reach here on this 5-on-3.
Mike Babcock's team playing professional and unselfish. Whereas for Steve, he's showing a real selfish side that he shouldn't be showing at this point.
Cronwall has it. Laid across to Rapolsky. Back to Cronwall. Drive! It is Keith clearing. Grabbed by Rapolsky and touched back across. Cronwall gives to Rapolsky again. Space it over for Cronwall. Settles it down eventually and starts to change places with Rapolsky. Gives it to him for a feedback in and a right back and a score by Zetterberg.
These guys are passing margins. The Detroit Red Wings just go tic-tac goal, and it's an interchange up high between Filppula and Rafalski down low. Zetterberg comes in and just goes roof daddy on the short side. Edzo, I know it's 5-on-3, but these guys are just magnificent in terms of their puck management.
Well, it's a matter of time. The double post before this, and then Zetterberg settling the puck down. Quick little move from Rafalski right down. But look at Henrik Zetterberg. Stick on his. What a pickup. Left skate to his stick. All in one motion. Beats Corey Crawford. And there you see traffic in front of the net. Franzen. And a 5-on-3 goal. A 5-1 game. And still on the power play. What a pickup, though. I mean, that was the pass wasn't overly hard, but sometimes when you get that puck and it comes into you so tight, I mean, that's what you call it, being jammed on a pass. But just having the wherewithal to, you know what, not be in a hurry, not trying to move, just move your skate a little bit, angle it so it comes right back to your stick, puck comes up in the back of the net.
Rapolsky gets one of the assists on the Zetterberg goal. At 7:42, we'll pick up the others as they're being announced now. But meanwhile, a 5-1 game. Rapolsky played it back in. Filppula gave it across away from Hossa. Boy, they want to be able those guys out there. Shot by Samuelson. A try by Hossa. He was looking for the hat-trick. And Crawford got in the way of it. Rapolsky and Cromwell get the assist on the Zetterberg goal. Retrieved by Brian Rapolsky and dumped onto Filppula.
Right through his shoulders, coming off the ice major. In that last sequence, that's a double whammy for Chicago if he's out for a long period of time.
We haven't seen Havlat, have we, since that hit?
Samuelson laid it across. Still down at the bench there, Pierre?
Yes, he is.
Given across to Samuelson. Cronwall, the shot, save made by Crawford, and he covered.
And Edzo, it's just tape to tape to tape, and you can hear the clicking sounds of the puck leaving the stick and then getting to the other stick. And poor Corey Crawford, I mean, you talk about a baptism by fire. There's Patrick Sharp, not feeling very good, but it's just tape to tape to tape. It's almost like they're scrimmaging against the Chicago Blackhawks right now.
Putting in a position that the player gets that puck, put it in an area where he's able to make a play, shoot the puck, or make a pass. Opportunity there for Zetterberg. It's such an important part of the passing aspect of if you pass on your teammate a grenade.
That one went on Franzen. Blackhawks feverishly trying to clear. Penalty time is up. A shot is deflected and popped up out of play. Came back down on the deflection.
Another penalty. Steve's getting another penalty. Selfish again. He goes right after Hoodler. Coming out of the box.
Well, knowing Joe Quenneville, I got to imagine that the only ice time that Christopher Steek's going to get in the very near future is the ice that he gets from skating from the penalty box to the bench. I got to imagine he's going to be there for a while. The last penalty, not very good. But even the one before that, to me, knowing when your team's going to be shorthanded, you just can't do it. He comes out of the penalty box. There he is right there. Now, it wasn't much, but don't even put yourself in that position. It wasn't much at all. But why put yourself in that spot?
It comes down to the composure level. We saw how apoplectic Joel Quenneville was to start. The second period, you can see it just translated to the play. Not blaming this on Joel at all. Fantastic job. This team just wasn't ready to start the second period.
Down 2-0, knowing that they were going to be shorthanded to start.
Laid back in by Holmstrom. Coming by is Conwall. Flipped it along, but Sharp is back out there to take this. Nudges it on now for Adam Burrish. Burrish trying to turn right back, comes around in front, and a great post check by Osgood.
That's what Chicago needs to do, take the puck to the net.
Here comes Miller. Moving back to the long one along for Holmstrom. Culverson got it there. Flopped it back down, and just now they spot it, and Osgood is able to tend.
I think the sports Thursday now I go up to Chicago and just say, you know what, we've got to get after these guys, start pumping physically to try to set something up for game 5.
Yeah, I think that you have to think about playing physical, but Chicago's such a quick strike offense. They've been behind a lot this year in the playoffs. If they could get some quick strikes, I mean, they have the ability to be able to, create some offensive opportunities. Still a lot of time left, but here's Christopher Sneed coming right out of the box. I mean, it wasn't much, and Hoodler certainly sold it by getting hit from the side or from behind. But don't even put yourself in that position. But I guess, Pierre, to answer your question, I mean, there's still a lot of time. I mean, we've seen some miraculous comebacks, and everybody would just roll their eyes because it is Detroit. But, you've got to believe. You get one on a power play, you get another opportunity. Next thing you know, you're right there. So I think that there's still plenty of time. But yes, get on the physical part about it. And with Detroit, I've noticed, they're really only playing with 5 defensemen. We have not seen Chris Delio hardly at all. Especially here in the second period. I don't think he's had a shift in the second one. He only played a buck away from first.
He had one short shift here in the second period. That's it.
It is Stewart bringing this one back in the last 20 of the power play. Pretty good try by Osgood, but just not the control he needed to dart away. This came back over for Zetterberg. Shoved off by Seabrook. Along by Keith. Bronson denied. Good play by Seabrook. Back out again, and Sharp was belted by Bronson. Deflected back here, off for the turn back in by Hoodie.
There's a lot of stick work going on behind I'll tell you what, you have the puck on your stick and you move it, forget about worrying about somebody trying to knock you in the next week. You're looking at somebody trying to chop your hands off.
Halfway point, second period. 5-1 in favor of Detroit. Osa with 2, Franzen with 1, Vilpala and Zetterberg with goals each. Taves the lone goal for Chicago. It was Ed Olsen. No, he was about to be a shot that went wide. It was Ed Olsen who said Detroit has 7 shots and 4 wins. I'm looking to find some more of them today. Did you include Vilpala? Oh, you did. Okay.
I think the way he's playing, he's like 2 guys.
And you did include Hoses. That shot is blocked off by Crawford. Taken by Versteeg for the clear back out. Back in again. Now he comes to the bench. You had predicted that might be where he'll be for a while.
Knowing Joe Quenneville? Yes, I do.
Icing is called. Joel just sort of looked away from him when he came there. That might be the worst indictment of all, as I'm not going to address this. Anyway, want NHL updates whenever and wherever. Use NBC Sports Mobile and get them right on your cell phone. Just text the word hockey to 51515. Again, text the letters HOCKEY to 51515. Attention paid to Chris Osgood today. He's faced 12 shots, gotten 11. But when the game was closer, he made a couple of really strong saves out of a flurry.
Made that great save off the stick of Jonathan Tate in that first period.
And then Campbell got one that is right after that was off the tip of his glove. Twisted around in front and held by Crawford. Quite a bit of this as we go on, I think. Red Wings are ahead by 4.
Detroit leads 5-1, Mike. Now what do? Do you keep attacking or do you pull the guys back a little bit?
No, we want to, my plan, now that doesn't mean necessarily goes that way all the time, is for us to keep our foot on the gas and go on and play in their zone as much as we can. Why wouldn't we?
Nick Lidstrom not playing here. I know you can't get too into it. Is there any possibility he'll be out for the series or will he be back for 5?
Oh, we think he'll be back. I didn't even hear about it until I got in the cab on the way to the rink, so it was a little different than normal that way, but I think he'll be fine.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Lidstrom is Mr. Reliability, and I think we could determine from the third game when things were getting out of hand for Detroit that he was the centering factor. Not only did he score a goal, but settled the team down, got them back into a tie before the Blackhawks won it in the thrilling overtime passes and shots. Here's Franzen legging across, toe drag and a shot on goal, and then skidding into Crawford was the man who took the shot.
Detroit's putting on a pass and I mean, everything is just let it break on the passing. Just breaking the forecheck down because they're passing, and they're making great reads on 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s because of their passing. It's just amazing.
Two things that they do very well. One is that they support all over the ice. We talk about the passing ability and the speed, the skill, giving and going. But the one thing that they do very well, we showed it on the one goal by Filppula, is that they interfere subtly within, you want to call the rules, but there's the pass by Franzen to Hudler, and then the shot, and there you see Hudler going sliding in right into Corey Crawford. But they set moving picks. They interfere probably better than any team in the National Hockey League. When you have great support, you're going to need to open up that space for guys on the ice. And those are two things that really stick out to me when I watch them. Detroit is going to be in a well-oiled machine, and that's what they do, those two things. Support, set those subtle little picks all over the ice. We saw a beautiful little skate for the Silver goal that's made by Wilson on goal.
Here's Kane dropping one off, and Campbell with it there. Campbell a shot shrugged away by Osgood. Now, is Hudler one of your 7 guys? Here's Kane filtering it on through, and Bufflin a shot, and then deflected off of Stewart on the bench. Skipped around in front, another try. That went off one of the red things. Taves just now getting back to his feet. It's shoveled back out, and here comes a 3-on-1. Laid across the Filppula, tries to get through the helm. Got it away by the defense and cleared, and then cut by Hossa, but then eventually brushed across by Eriksson.
Right, there's that off-man rush we were talking about. The kick from Franzen good.
Hossa tried a sales job, but it didn't work. Here's Bolin shooting, and then deflected away and Osgood popped around in front and unsaw until Maltby spotted it and cleared it back out.
That puck had good hand time there. Everybody was looking around, looking up and behind Chris Osgood. Nobody knew where that puck was.
Maltby is out there, roughs it up a bit with Jalmerson. One of the Red Wings of legend has got the puck loose, but couldn't control it to get a shot away. And then back checks it along, but it is carried back in now by Ladd. An easy block there for Osgood. Pushed along, and Andrew Ladd up with it again. His shot, and that one turned aside in front of the defense. Nuts back out, and Lalo was hoping to go away with that. Walker cranks it back in, and then it's just banged to the glass by Abdelkader.
Good hit right before that dock by Andrew Ladd. And Kirk Maltby, who took a hit to make a play. Now there's the streak, he did get back in the ice.
A big move in front, and Osgood was able to hang on to that. Clock stopped. Scoreboard still shows a 4-goal lead. Time now to pick our Suzuki fans of the game. Fans, Blackhawks fans, 22,663 here today. 40 games inside this place in the regular season, 9 in the playoffs, all of them sold out, including 40,818 for a home game at a baseball park where from third to first it was 30-mile-an-hour breezes in period 1. We have had another penalty called, and while I was looking over the fans, discovered that there was a misconduct penalty handed out to one of the Blackhawks.
Yeah, it's on Ben Eager. Ben Eager has a great chance, and Chris Osgood with a real good stop. Everything is fine. He comes in there, a little push. Nothing going on, probably some words exchanged, and then he finds his way over to referee Kevin Pollock. Says something to him. Pollock asks him, what does he say? And there you see Pollock. Enough's enough, and gives him a 10-minute misconduct.
I think we're getting a little taste of the youth of the Blackhawks right now, Edzo, at a critical time. They're not showing the same maturity that Detroit is showing and has showed this entire playoff season. It's how you deal with the adversity, and Chicago here in Game 4 hasn't dealt with the adversity very well.
I think Detroit has recognized that, played whistle to whistle and taken advantage of some bad penalties, playing with the lead.
They've been very, very upset that Brian Campbell called the hit by Cronball on Havlat gutless. I think they wanted to really make a statement on that.
Heat the shot, and that one shanked off Osgood and went wide. As standing in front of him was Burish, and this one is grabbed and held by Chris Osgood. And Burish coming up to say something to him, and then another Red Wing is shoved down.
I think you're going to start seeing all these scrums and these piles. The referee's got to start taking control and saying, you know what, just start giving 10s, just like exactly to Ben Eager.
Agreed.
Start pushing, shoving. You just start eliminating people from the game, and then eventually it'll stop.
And you knew this was going to happen at some point. The frustration level boils over. But also, Chicago's not done in the series. I mean, there's still a Game 5. You know, you talked about them potentially coming back here. The shots are 24-16 and the score is 5-1. I'm not sure that's realistic for this afternoon. That doesn't mean they can't win a Game 5 in Detroit.
Not sure Nikolai Hobby-Bolin, who scratched him this afternoon's game after leaving to start the third period in Game 3. 2 days in between for Hobby-Bolin and the Blackhawks. Lots of time to rest and recoup. And you know, you go back to before Game 3. Venue change going from Detroit to Chicago. Nikolai Hobby-Bolin, the team day off after Game 2, and then the team practice. Hobby-Bolin did not see shots, and he's a guy that loves to take a lot of shots. There's been times he's taken shots on Christmas Day, just so that he could not go too long without seeing shots and get ready for the next day's game after Christmas. And when he didn't see shots for those 2 days, in my eyes, being a former teammate with him in Winnipeg, and something went off. That's not Nikolai Hobby-Bolin, his routine. I mean, he loves to get shots. Aren't many guys in the National Hockey League that work harder than Nikolai Hobby-Bolin. And then once he got pulled after the second period of giving up 3 goals in that second period and then not being on the lineup here today, you know this guy is seriously banged up.
Well, to do that on Christmas Day is very impressive, and you were out there on Christmas Day too. Now the difference is,
I was looking for a little free ice time for my young kids.
the difference is Russian Christmas is January the 6th, I believe, isn't it, or 7th? So it wasn't actually his.
Right. Well, you know what?
But
where
nobody else
it
was there. That's true. Well, here it's Campbell. Joe Quentin had a couple of number 1 goaltenders, and the contribution to both to this tremendous Blackhawk season has been substantial.
Both played 41 games, 20 wins on the season for Jouet. They got off to a shaky start. Nikolai Hobby-Bolin wasn't there during training camp. Didn't play any exhibition game. Stopped by Corey Crawford.
Well, you got an interesting decision to make if you're Dale Cowan, because you're married into UA's contract at over $5 million a year.
3 more years.
Yeah, and then you've got a situation with Nikolai Hobby-Bolin who's a potential unrestricted free agent, and I don't think you can afford to spend $11 to $12 million a year on the goaltending position. Detroit doesn't spend $2 million combined to have Osgood and Ty Conklin. They spend it on defensemen.
Hobby-Bolin lost his first start of the season against the Washington Capitals, a 4-2 game. Alexander Ovechkin with 2 goals in the third, and then Hobby-Bolin. Oh, big hit there for Steve on Erickson. Hobby-Bolin, 17 straight games with picking up at least 1 point. That's a great start for Chicago.
Leno couldn't get a shot away while falling through 1 man. Steve is there.
Steve saw Erickson coming. Erickson was looking to get Buford, and a project punched to the head by Bolin.
And across for Wetman. They got Erickson off the ice there. Maybe to not fan the flames anymore, or if anything, wind up getting another power play for Detroit. He doesn't come out of this.
Yeah, do you think we see Chelios hit off something up here as the third period?
Yes, I do. I really do. I think in light of what's gone on with the injury situation with Detroit, I think Chelios gets more time in the third period.
And his helm rushing in.
Great effort.
Oh, he stole the puck and fed one all the way. That is picked up and thrown, but ricocheted right back in for an offside.
Well, Chris Versteeg in on a forecheck. 2 bad penalties in the second period. Right part of your screen, here's wrist for Stieg.
Nothing wrong with
32
that.
on 52. That's a good, hard hit by Chris Versteeg. And then Versteeg got the puck in his own zone, and Jonathan Ericsson, he was licking his chops. He was going to get a free pop on Versteeg, and no question, Versteeg saw him coming. He got the happy feet and got the puck over in the high spot.
Brad McCullough's been talking with Chris Chelios on the Detroit bench. So I think you're right, as we're going to see more of Chelios go along here going into the first period.
It's tough to put him out here when he hasn't played.
No, not really. I wouldn't
in
put
this
him out
period.
right now.
Burdick escaped much of that hit. Backhand one that flew across the net mouth wide.
You're Chicago. You're trying to get one here at the end of the period. Get a little bit of momentum going into the third period.
Here's Keith firing. Deflected well wide. And rifled back out again by the Red Wings, who will take the icing that comes from this. With 1:32 to go. Well, here we are again.
Adam Burge just circling around, looking to try to collide with one of the Red Wing players. He's actually looking for Brett Lebden. He ran into Dan Cleary.
Yeah. Now we got Troy Bauer and Jonathan Ericsson paired up.
You just got to start giving 10s. That's all you got to do. Let the right part of your screen right there. Both players collide. It's actually Samuelson right in the middle. Watch Cleary.
Burge does a good job there. He's trying to get the referee to make a call. Now he's talking to Mark Jonette saying, I can't believe you're not calling that. But Burge does that on purpose, and so you know that better than anybody else. And that's part of the gamemanship.
He's circling, trying to bait the Red Wings into a penalty. The Red Wings and Mike Babcock have seen that before.
The leadership portion of the Detroit team is so amazing, whether it's Nick Lidstrom or Chris Draper. It doesn't matter. Danny Cleary, they all buy into what the team is selling, and if they don't buy in, they don't stay there. And they're just such composed leaders, all of them.
Campbell with a shot, and that deflected wide off of Taves. He'll be able to keep it and wheel one that deflected up into the net.
Yeah, that was Brett Lebda as well, standing in front of the net. Good hard shot there by Brian Campbell. Osgood's made a couple of good saves here late. You know, they got the 4-goal cushion.
We just think how deep through the ranks they have gone, with 3 of their major players injured. I mean, if Chelios at age 47 comes out in the third period, he can diffuse or inflame a lot of situations just by talking, because he's very good at that.
Absolutely.
He proved it on you the other morning.
Right. He's seen it all.
It is sharp. A minute and a quarter to go in a house of horrors second period.
No stick for Kronwall. Sorry, Dr. Zetterberg did Kronwall a stick.
After the play goes to the corner, Zetterberg still without that. Good point out there. Walked across now and held by Keith. Shoved on for Seabrook, and the shot was steered well wide. Good work done by Yuri Hoodman.
Zetterberg picking up Kronwall.
The white tape, he did.
Shoved back off, but a grab by Keith to keep it alive. But that shot ricocheted on Zetterberg, and they might get something out of this. And here comes Bronson moving in. And then from behind, getting in the way of that toss is Crawford. And Seabrook turns with the help of Keith. Red Wings make another change here in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, back check by Holson Kane. That's fantastic.
Buckland, a shot is trapped and held by Osgood. Over the course of the years, you see Osgood and Kane having words. A coach has to address a team and sometimes passes on it if things are going pretty well. But how many speeches has Joel Quenneville made this year, and what will he say between the second and third?
Well, right there, you would tell Patrick Kane, you got to get the puck in deep. There's 5 Detroit Red Wings back. And when you start skating north and then you try to go to the west, you're going to turn it over. I mean, you see 5 guys back, puck's got to get in deep, use your speed, maybe they're going to hook, maybe you'll draw a penalty. And those are the things I'm sure the coaches will talk about it. You know what he's trying to do, he's trying to make a point. But there are times to be able to be a risky player. That wasn't the time.
40 minutes have been played. Shots 24, 10 in that period for Detroit, 10 in that period, 19 for Chicago. Second intermission, Mike and Pierre tell you what the coaches should be telling their teams. Perhaps it will duplicate what you heard from Eddie Olczyk. Plus, are the Penguins destined to win the Stanley Cup? They will have an opinion on that. You're watching the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs on NBC, presented by Gillette Fusion. Changes in goal.
As Mike Milbury said in the second intermission, being Joel Quenneville, Cristobal Huet, you're going back in net. And at the other end, Ty Conklin in for Chris Osgood.
That's because they don't want anybody running over Chris Osgood in Chicago, trying to make something out of this to try to generate some enthusiasm for Game 5. You know, they'd be running over Chris Osgood as much as possible. Good movement by Mike Babcock.
Chalmers it ahead and laid it back in. First experience of the year in the Stanley Cup playoffs for Ty Conklin. Native of Anchorage, Alaska. This is pitched back in by Bronson. And along the play it is Walker.
Also, Mike wanted to show that he's not anti-American. He put the American-born goaltender in just to get after the Jeremy Roenick comments about Mike Babcock being anti-American.
And to even show more, he has Brian Rafalski out there right now, which is a very good decision, as this is turned aside by Huet on the try by Zetterberg. On now comes Jonathan Toews. Shoved it across to Keith, and a shot is trapped and held by Conklin. Blackberry inside the glass, and the shrinking pile at the air.
So what he's trying to do for the Chicago Blackhawks right now, generate as many offensive opportunities as possible, get pucks in deep, get after anybody that's wearing a white sweater right now, but again, get after their defensemen because of the injury situation, especially the key people, go right after the defensemen of Detroit.
Here's a shot by Seabrook that went off the high glass and came along to Toews. Toews met one, Keith a shot, getting a piece of that Conklin. Rebound is popped back over. Darren Helm nearly run off there and then shouldered down by Seabrook, but Helm is able to persist and lob one ahead that Filppula will go back to get.
That was a good idea there by Helm. He couldn't make a direct pass, so he just kind of bounced it off the boards. Gonna throw a little bit of an area pass for Filppula. Good idea by Helm.
It is Hossa circling with it there. Elevated one back that can be thrown by Stewart, and that ricocheted off of Holmstrom and went wide. And Holmstrom continues to battle, shoved down by Dustin Byfuglien. And Kane's try was back checked away by Hossa, but eventually they're able to get by, and Kane can work back in and go in against Stewart.
The last opportunity for Detroit. Huet shot came. He had no idea where the puck was. He was down on his knees. Thought the puck was in front of him. Was actually in behind the net, coming to the front.
He's down on his knees a lot. That's something he has never really been able to fix in his NHL career.
Rushing back in with this is Campbell. Laid it back for a shot by Barker off the tip of the glove of Conklin. Lifted back along further by Lepta and scaled back in by Versteeg. So it's Campbell again. Off the outside of the cage. Seeing the change made by Detroit, what would Chicago say? I know they're down by 4. Would they have had a read on this at all in terms of what they want to do?
I don't believe so. They're just looking, as Pierre said, take some chances, get the defense involved, don't turn down any shots. It's been a while since Ty Conklin has seen some action, so you know what? Just anytime you get an opportunity, here's Chalmers, a perfect example. Defenseman following in his own shoot-in. They're just trying to build some momentum. Mike Milbury was being Joel Quenneville. Any momentum that they could gain going into Game 5.
You know, Joel Quenneville's not going to be happy with Cristobal Huet here this afternoon. And when you're in this kind of a game against a team like Detroit, you got to be stellar. That one gets through him. This one's got to be stopped. That's at the end of the first period by Johan Franz. And Valtteri Filppula with a beautiful aerial pass to Marian Hossa. He goes to the net, jumps on the rebound, takes advantage. And then Hossa right through Huet again after he walks around Chris Versteeg. Has not been a great afternoon for Cristobal Huet.
One, the Franzen goal, I agree. That's a bad goal. That puck cannot get in. Even the Hossa first goal, I think he wanted to try to elevate that puck right up and under the bar. It seemed like Huet was ahead of it and got a piece of it, but not enough.
They tried to feed Eriksson and a head-hunting shot. What a scorcher that came by from Johnson. And it is played along now to Walker.
But they got the memo in the Detroit dressing room, shoot high on the UA as much as possible. That's all we're seeing from the back end. All the guys with headhunter type shots as doctors for me.
Well, the 2-on-1 break short-handed. I mean, oftentimes that winds up in the net, especially when you have the skill as we have here with Kane denied, and what a diving play that was made by Holmstrom and a penalty coming out.
What an effort. Up 5-1. And you want to see the difference of when the line is drawn in the sand? Here's the difference. Tomas Holmstrom dives and prevents Patrick Kane from getting that opportunity. There's Holmstrom, 96, last second. I mean, Holmstrom does a nice job on the back check as well, but Holmstrom, desperation. Are you willing to cross that line? And he has a power play opportunity coming up.
Sponsored by Gillette Fusion. So searching for some credibility. Versteeg's shot that went off Conklin. Laid back off the glass now. Understandably, not able to really react quickly and control there with the traffic around him. And also, practice is different than games. In the warm-up for today, he felt a lot more high shots than Chris Osborne. Just because the shooters warm up on the backup guy.
It's on Bolin.
Yeah, it is. Cross-check. And it's a cross-check. And Mark Jonette makes the call from the opposite side of the ice, but it's a cross-check.
Puck was shot in by Brent Seabrook. And Henrik Zetterberg was the one coming back. Detroit likes to make this particular play as this puck is shot in. First it's to the right of Ty Conklin, and it goes all the way around the boards, up those left wing boards, and then Henrik Zetterberg was coming to kick that puck back to the defense, and then Dave Bolin, left part of your screen. Now watch Henrik Zetterberg. He's coming in. Far left. There you see the cross-check by Dave Bolin. He's trying to get that puck to Cromwell, kick it back to Cromwell, and then be able to get it down 200 feet. So good positioning there.
Here comes Helm. Oh, and a rising shot that got the glass. What a steal by Helm. Steal by Detroit.
Some kind of a player out of Medicine Hat. What a player.
Laid on to the back now to Rafalski. Rafalski dropped it over, and they tried a combination at the front, but it didn't function well. I don't know what's wrong.
How about Ty Conklin?
He's the
king of the outdoor games. When he was at Edmonton, he played in the Heritage Classic in Pittsburgh, he played in the Heritage Classic in Buffalo, and then this year he played right here in Chicago. He's the king of the outdoor game.
USA Hockey Player of the Year. Born in Anchorage, All-American at the University of New Hampshire. Then back out to center for a weave back now by Patrick Kane. Kane would love to get a goal in this series. Offside is called. 14:42 to go here in the third.
We talked about the great play by Darren Helm. Doc, right in front. There's Helm. Now watch Brent Seabrook. Ooh, look, get a chance to watch that. Get a chance to see that again. Darren Helm stepped right on Brent Seabrook.
Nobody plays more minutes for the Chicago Blackhawks than Brent Seabrook. Going into this game, Brent Seabrook has been averaging almost 26 minutes per game. And he's their big minute guy. That would be terrible if they couldn't get him back.
Usually his partner, Duncan Keith, is right up around with him, but Duncan Keith was another bad play there by Patrick Kane and Doug Bolin. Zetterberg almost had a break there. He's up down center. Early in this round against Detroit, Duncan Keith comes with a flu bug.
Stewart with a shot that was struck down by Uwe, and then he got his glove across, but it is tapped on now by Campbell, took the hit from Cromwell. It was a very respectful, gentle hit. Shot into the paraphernalia of Conklin that just sees it develop back for Detroit again. Yeah, you probably don't go with the A show in hitting right now. Here's a beat for Cleary, around for a backhand attempt. Oh, and a forehand try on the rebound by Zetterberg.
How about that skill level? That's artistry.
Speed to the outside. Hossa Cleary with a one-punch to Zetterberg. Support again. Support all over the ice.
That's just athletic artistry. That's spectacular.
It's easy to make those plays when you have time and space because of the speed of Hossa. But when you have that support, you're allowed. It enables you to be able to make those.
Pulled it away, laid a pass that was a little bit too far.
Now, Havlock's not on the bench, by the way, for Chicago, and we had Lucas Chelios. here in the third period.
But is that the bench?
He is on the bench.
Carried ahead by Adam Burridge. Burridge trying to work his way like or not. It is Eriksson just turning in traffic and starting to lead back out. As Leno nearby, Eriksson pulled into traffic and went off Seabrook.
See him back on the ice.
Yeah, very quickly. Pretty good collision between Seabrook and Leno, who gets back up to try to play this, but Seabrook in the way. And Eager allowed to be out with his friends here after serving the 10-minute misconduct. Ben's had a few of those in his time. Here's Leno crossing. Oh, man, was he ever given an elbow from behind by Duncan Keith. The last call is on. And what you guys are pointing out, there's another one. These are must calls. They've got to be called. And Eager may be getting some more here.
Yeah, he's getting thrown out again. Another 10-minute coming up to Eager.
Verizon Wireless sounds of the game. Troy Brower of Chicago. Get live game score, stats, and alerts, and exclusive video on your Verizon Wireless Vcast phone.
Duncan Keith with the penalty, elbow to the back of the head of Billy Leno. And right after that, Ben Eager was taking a run at Nicholas Kronwall. The referee pointed right at him and threw him back in behind the Blackhawk bench into the dressing room. Haven't gotten the word on what the penalty was, but I haven't mentioned it's another 10 minutes.
A power play sponsored by Gillette Fusion.
Hey, Doc, they didn't let Eager play with his friends for very long.
No, they didn't, and he sort of ushered himself off, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Just getting the announcement now on the penalties.
All penalties 7:29.
Dealt on back to Rafalski. And Zetterberg decides to go there. Side of the net, Hudler. Made along by Rafalski again.
Zetterberg, a wide open net for Hudler.
It's just amazing. The magicians with the puck heads on, Doc. They really are.
You know, a lot of times a guy like Hudler will sort of say to himself, I won't get that kind of a chance again. But maybe he will, and maybe 2 or 3 more. At the rate it's been going for Detroit. You just see that high skill level become dominant in a game like this offside.
Well, the opportunity for Yuri Hudler. There's Zetterberg, passes the puck all the way through. Look at Hue out of the net. Hudler's able to shoot this puck right away. Bounces up, rolls up on his stick, and there Cam Barker trying to play goaltender. But if he's able to one-time that puck without stopping it, he's got a wide open net. He doesn't miss that.
2 defenders on the ice for Detroit on this power play. Usually Michael Sanderson will be back there with a Brad Stewart, but now we're going with 2 defensemen, 5-1 lead. No need to mess around with a forward back there.
Filppula gave it back across, and it's Hossa. They'll try to set him up for a hat-trick here.
Yes.
Filppula laid it back along for Brad Stewart.
Broken stick, tough to score with a broken stick though.
He's gotten another one from the bench and gets back in the play. Left this in it for him. I think he sensed what that was all about. Hossa is able to dangle with it anyway and hand it on back to Stewart. Filppula laid it across, and it was off the stick of Levitt, nearing the halfway point of the third period. Stewart a shot, and that blocked down in front. There is a certain likelihood that this will be the last Blackhawks home game of the year, and it's a shame for the 22,000 and plus. The memory of the last game will not nearly be what the one before it was. But memory is selective, and they have had so many good ones to work with over the years that if this is the last game, they can console themselves with a lot of great stuff that happened this year. But here is Samuelson laying it back across, swept back in, and a collision between Versteeg and Heller.
A little Lethbridge Broncos versus Lethbridge Hurricanes versus Medicine Hat Tigers. Versteeg played for Lethbridge and Paul played for Medicine Hat.
Both those teams in the Western Hockey League and western part of Canada.
Developed a lot of players. Cam Barker played for Medicine Hat. Brent Seabrook played for Lethbridge.
This is cut by Yuri Hudler, but carried on by Kane. Swept one is just hoisted away by the defense, and Campbell put it into the catching glove of Conklin. Play halted here in the third. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs by Gillette Fusion. Cops are cracking down on unbuckled drivers all across the country. If you don't use your seatbelt, you'll get stuck with a ticket. Click it or ticket. This message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Is that earplugs there, or was he listening to the broadcast? A lot of youngsters here today having a great time, except for the score right now in most cases. The Warrior hat being worn by almost everybody here. There were a few Red Wing fans that were allowed in. And they have had a great time. This arena will be 20,066. And the next game is played on Wednesday. All of them, or most of them, hoping it'll be the last one. This one all but in the books here with 9:13 to go. 5-1 in favor of Detroit.
Well, Chris Versteeg and Nicholas Kronwall. Seen Chris Versteeg active all afternoon, and wants Nicholas Kronwall to drop his gloves, but really there's no need. Versteeg's taken one bad penalty for sure this afternoon, and of course this has a lot to do to go back to Game 3. Nicholas Kronwall getting a piece of Marty Havlat.
That's what I can tell you.
Hit by Stewart here in that second period as well, so Havlat's been hit a couple times.
Chris Versteeg's a very good player. I think he lost his composure level here this afternoon. He needs to get that back. I really do.
Pretty much at critical times, too, when they were sort of in the balance. What do we have here? We have Stewart and Buffalo.
Now Brower gets smacked closer with his stick behind. Goodwin back furious.
Well, they want some more penalties.
They get a penalty to Brower. He'll get a penalty. Just not smart. And now Hoser's cheating.
I mean, when you start taking liberties, like we've seen a slash, we've seen the trip by Brower. You're sitting on the Detroit Red Wing bench, and if the shoe's on the other foot, it's the same thing. You know what? You try to make the score 8-0 or 9-0. Absolutely. You run up the score, and if teams are going to start doing this, the only way it's going to stop is you start putting more goals up on the board.
I agree with you.
Now, there's a difference in playing hard and finishing a check and taking a penalty. But when you take unnecessary penalties, that's a good play. No problem there.
Nothing wrong there.
And right before that, there was a little bit of a slash with Bufflin. No problem. But when you get into this situation where you let frustration get the best of you and you start taking liberties on other players, and that's where the line has to be drawn. And here's the play by Troy Brower. Little bit of a trip. Okay, that's fine. No big deal. But before that, there was a slash and a cross check.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you understand, but you want it to stop, and if you're the referees, you get control and just start giving 2s and 10s, and eventually there'll be nobody on the bench. But if you're the team receiving that, you're saying, you know what? Let's go. Let's make this 7 or 8.
The Blackhawks have
Really make it hurt.
Troy Brower.
Kronwall shot deflected wide by Walker. Lifted on as we're nearing the last 8 minutes of regulation time at the tilt.
Look at the 5 guys on the ice for Detroit.
That's the one power play. That's what you're saying.
I mean, obviously with the players that they have left here.
Brought on by Rafalski. Fed across for the feed on to Zetterberg by Franzen, who glides near the front of the net. Watched by Jalmerson there as it's set up by Kronwall back to Rafalski and across to Zetterberg. Franzen able to pitch it back to him. Rafalski with a drive, and that deflected wide. Another shot off the outside of the cage near the post.
Good keeper by Zetterberg. What a pass!
Oh my goodness.
Through 2 sticks just now. Franzen gives it on back for Kronwall. Putler a drive, and it rang off the pipe. 2 pipes on this play. Rafalski ahead. Hands on to Zetterberg. In front, Franzen. Save made by Yue. Rafalski, and that one blocked. Another try. Score! Zetterberg! And it is 6-1.
This is a great shot by Zetterberg, and then the big rebound, and it's juicy. And when you get it, Rafalski blasts it, Zetterberg gets it, and he puts it to the back of the net.
He made a real good stop a little bit earlier. But here it's just a matter of time. The shot by Rafalski right through the legs of Jalmerson. And there's Henrik Zetterberg just circling around. Remember where he was to start this power play? He was over on the right wing boards.
Yes, he was.
And then he came all the way over to the left wing boards. There he is, coming to the net, and there he is. Look at this. What a play. Off the right skate to the stick, off the glove, and in behind. But what a pickup by Henrik Zetterberg. Both of his goals were from his skate to his stick to the back of the net.
They've been on a puck management clinic here this afternoon. You can understand the frustration. There's another example right there. Look at this.
Filppula, save made by Ewing. Filppula was going for, I think unofficially, but now maybe officially, his 4th point of the game. Take it back out to Percy Kane. We have time to double check our stuff. This one skipped across the net mouth and went wide. A little over 6.5 to go, and we have another penalty coming up. The ball is a hook. And Filppula is bagged for this one.
How about the skill level, though, on that last sequence where Detroit just dominating with the puck head zone, Doc? Unbelievable stuff.
And Filppula into the corner to the right of Ty Conklin. There he hooks the hands, hooks the stick of Brian Campbell. Down by 5. Chicago on a power play. Filppula's been, boy, he's been really good here this afternoon. Playing with different players with the injuries to Pavel Datsyuk. Of course, Chris Draper out of the lineup.
3 points for Filppula in the game today. Marion Hosier is having match outing. The team has looked strong. Barclay shot, the pad stop made by Ty Conklin. Another try. And that deflected to the glass on the effort by Campbell. And then it's Taves trying to run along and getting it there. It's across the shot and is cut off. With authority spun back down the ice by Brad. Angled across for a pass by Bauer that is held by Kane, and he just drifted back, and because of the defense of Eriksson, sort of took himself out of the play. Jammed back further by Sharp, but then Red cleared back down by Helm.
Boy, 2 good plays on this penalty kill for Brad Stewart. And that last one, very pressured Patrick Sharp up the boards. Got support. Use that word a lot with Detroit. Support on the wall by Helm. Was able to shoot it down.
29 years of age. Very experienced guy, but not a guy in his 30s. Guess that's so obvious, isn't it? So many of the Red Wings are early to late 30s, and then in the case of Chelios, 47. Oh, what a diving play made by Conklin, and one that rocketed off the ice.
Buffalo had a wide open net.
Don't know about the team in red, but the white and red team, the ones predominantly white, just would like running time right now because they've got enough. Unless they can bury another one, and as you pointed out, just try to make it worse for Chicago and more embarrassing.
We talked about the good play that Stewart made at the end of that penalty kill. Watch the play that he makes here. Talking about defensemen being aware of knowing what's going on. The puck is in the left wing corner. Look at Stewart's head. He's turning, looking where Patrick Sharp is. Now here's a quick play developed. Brouwer trying to get it to Sharp. But Brad Stewart knew where Patrick Sharp was, and he gets that stick in a passing lane, does not allow it to go to the weak side, the opposite side that the puck is on. Outstanding play and an opportunity for Dustin Byfuglien. Left part of your screen, right there. There's Dustin Byfuglien, wide open net, just hits the side of the net.
I think Versteeg is gone.
He is. He's been kicked out of the game right now, and he's telling Yuri Hudler that he's prepared to fight with him at any time, anywhere. Not that Yuri Hudler wants to do that or needs to do that.
So a history for another one of the Blackhawks here.
You get dips on the hot water.
Enzo, this is one of these learning lessons for the Chicago Blackhawk players, the young ones. You just can't melt down like this. They're melted down big time.
Keep the meltdown started when the Franzen goal happened. You need a save. Didn't get it. But you got to be able to fight through that adversity. It is a learning curve. I don't know how hard it is to win until you actually attain it. And yeah, getting to the conference finals is great, but through your plan, they've been there, they've done that. Adversity, that's when you really feel what the heck they're made of.
Andrew Ladd a shot, and that one went off his skate in front. Looking at his glove with Conklin, didn't look like it got all the way there. But dropping back with it now is Helm. Under 4.5 to go in the third. Rafalski and Conwell got the assist on the Zetterberg goal. And Cleary, won't matter to him that much that his goal a game string will have stopped at 4-5 during that time because the team won. And Chris Chelios is out there to shake this one back off the board. Up back along further, follow up by Chelios, the Chicago-born native and former Blackhawk. Punched ahead now for Kirk Maltby. Maltby a shot that is deflected out of play. 3:55 to go, third period. Those guys by 5. Versus has coverage of the game Tuesday night at 7:30 between the Penguins and the Hurricanes. The Penguins with a chance to execute a sweep and get into the final for the second time in 2 years. Some of these guys have been developed in the American Hockey League in Rockford. Some of the guys on the Victoria squad today in Grand Rapids in the American League. Their playoffs are still going on. There is great future here for Chicago in terms of the youth that they have, the skill that the youth has. But there have been teams that have gotten lessons that as you go on in each successive series, it gets harder and more intense. And you can't just tell people about it, they have to experience it. The Red Wings had that in 95, they got to the final in the stretch, but used that experience for their first of 4 championships in 11 years in 97. Carolina, the same thing in 02, got to the final, and then wound up winning in 06. Wasn't the case with Pittsburgh getting to the final last year. Did that set them up for a championship this year? Or at least a trip to the final again?
They're much more mature as a group, Pittsburgh. They didn't melt down against Philadelphia. They really hung in there well in a Game 7 on the road in Washington, and you see the composure they had last night when they just steamrolled Carolina 6-2 in Game 3.
Got the 3-2 early in that third period. Came up with a big goal. Carolina had a chance.
They never panicked, though. I told the Pittsburgh Penguins never panic. That's the lesson they learned from last year.
Think about where they were, maybe 5 weeks before the end of the season. Out of the playoffs. Ray Sherrill now made the big move, getting Chris Kunitz, getting Billy Guerin. He picked up Craig Adams on the waivers from the Chicago Blackhawks. All 3 guys have won cups. Experience. We got 2 top 6 forwards in Kunitz and Guerin. They took off from there, and obviously getting a healthy Sergei Gonchar as well.
And I think the new coach should have a real strong message to Danny Miles. Danny Miles has gone there and done a fantastic job of Conrad Field and Mike Gill. We got Slashers personified down low.
Who did you notice there?
We got Michael Sanderson leaving and David Bowen letting him have it. That's pretty good moments.
Since we last talked about the minors, the Texas Brahmas have won the Central Hockey League Championship, and the Fort Wayne Comets have yet again won the IHL title. 2 other of the development leagues still going, the ECHL and American League. Centering pass is falling block there. Alaska and South Carolina. How would you like to be the travel agent for the ECHL? It is a 1-1 tie as they head to Charleston.
Lots of direct flights. Imagine.
Charter talk.
I don't know about that. East Coast Hockey League.
How would you like that bus trip? About 15 films. No? They'll do it a little better than that. Scott Gomez told me firsthand, but Alaska Aces do it right. Centering pass in front is jabbed across and out of play in the last minute and 43 seconds. Saturday, the king of the clay, Rafael Nadal, continues his quest for the first Grand Slam in 40 years. The French Open is part of NBC Sports Championship season. Saturday, 1:30 Eastern on NBC.
Well, the players come together down to the right of the Red Wing bench.
Another one on Wednesday in Detroit. Came in here and called them names and are leaving 3-1 up.
Hey, Doc and Pierre, I'd like to send out get well wishes to a friend of mine and a big hockey fan, Renee Douglas, a professional jockey, rides horses for a living. He had a terrible spill yesterday here in Chicago at Arlington Park, and Renee, we're thinking about you and we wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah, get better. Edzo, if you can scramble down here quick, Joel Quenneville has room for you on the bench. There's a lot of room on that Chicago bench.
Yeah, I think Corey Crawford could probably get a better seat than where he is right now, Pierre, over your left shoulder.
Yeah. Yep.
You got 2 days to think about it now for Chicago.
Yes, they do.
A, situation of Marty Havlat. B, let me rephrase that. B, Marty Havlat, and A, Nikolai Hoffman. What is his status going to be? Because he has that ability to be able to win a game.
By Cam Barker, he does roughing at 18-17.
Play on Wednesday night in Detroit.
Those would
be the two things that we're looking at. First and foremost,
For someone who is nearsighted, a little dumpy perhaps, and keeps score like I did when I was a kid, some of you may be at home keeping score. We'll tell you that roughing minors have been assessed to Cam Barker and to Jonathan Ericsson. Now your card is probably going to be complete for the day. I saved all of mine. I don't know why. And I just think there's only one person that wants to know if there are any other penalties that have come out of this last bit. Chris Chelios has the puck there. Doing him out of jealousy probably for the championships that he won after he left here.
Well, they're mad that he closed down Kelly's Chili. Now it's in Detroit. Good chili at Kelly's in Detroit. Not very well. Yeah, very well. That America Park there doesn't hurt.
Here's Andrew Lappin in the OPEC 16. Paulsky stood in the way of that. Applicator defending on Lapp. Back across for Seabrook. A shot is held by Ty Conklin, who is getting warmer all the time and more confident out there.
Not a very good day for Chicago sports teams. Hawks down 6-1. Your Pittsburgh Pirates, Doc, beat the White Sox in American League Baseball 4-3.
They come from behind win.
Yeah, and my Cubs are losing again 4-0 to San Diego. So not a good day for sports fans in Chicago.
Hey, Doc and Edzo, can you imagine the Pittsburgh Pirates are here for 6 days? I want to sign up to be on that team. 6 days in Chicago? Wow, awesome.
He got a shot. Off the face-off, thrown away by Chelios and picked up by Cleary. Lobbed on out. What position do you play?
I used to pitch.
Chalmerson in the last 10. A resounding defeat here at home for Chicago. An impressive, largely disciplined win for the Detroit Red Wings. There may be one more skirmish out of all of this.
Yeah, that was Burrish. Burrish taking a run at Lebda, then at Helm. Got a cross check from Chelios. Burrish right in the middle of it.
Anything they can resume, they'll try on Wednesday. But a large win for Detroit. Final score in the game, the Red Wings 6, the Blackhawks 1. Remember, we'll be back with Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, part of NBC Sports Championship season. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, it's your local news. Then tonight, beginning at 7, 6 Central, it's Dateline NBC, followed by The Last Templar. It's all tonight on NBC. Hossa with 2. Zetterberg with 2. Bronson and Filppula, all a part of the 6 goals scored by the Red Wings. Taves had the only goal for Chicago. The teams parted peacefully. See if they're that way Wednesday. You've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on NBC, presented by Gillette Fusion. Good afternoon from Chicago.